Now that you've created your artist profile, it's time for you to create your first dispatch. You can do that by clicking on Dispatches here. This is just a screenshot of what a dispatch might look like. You will click on Create a New Dispatch. A dispatch is like a press release in the old music publicity world. In StoryAmp, a dispatch has to be associated with a concert or a release. One of the interesting things about the way StoryAmp works is that every single dispatch must be tied to a date and an activity. Journalists in the music world typically only cover things that are associated with one of these activities. For instance, getting a new dog is probably not noteworthy enough for a journalist to cover. StoryAmp kind of forces you into a format that is more in sync with how journalists pick up things they want to cover. When you're at the new dispatch page, you'll want to enter a name. This will serve as the title of your press release, or what we call a dispatch. The long pitch is similar to what a press release would say. I'm going to paste in a sample press release we created for the site. You may copy your long pitch from your existing blog or website, or from a text document you've written for this purpose. Think of this section as the press release or pitch, specifically for a concert or release. StoryAmp has a function that allows you to easily copy templates from existing dispatches, so once you do this, it's easy to create additional concert or release dispatches. Down here is a spot for you to enter your short pitch. Here you have 330 characters to briefly describe your concert or release. It can be an excerpt from your long pitch, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. It is completely up to you. But in many situations, journalists will look at the short pitch to get an idea of what the long pitch says. It's important to make your short pitch compelling with useful information. And make sure you do not go over your 330 character limit. You will then need to select which type of activity your dispatch is about. You can choose if it's an event, like a concert, or a release, like an album release. In this case, we will do an event. You then choose the date of the event or release. You can search for the city the event or release will take place in. As you start typing, the city you want should pop down for you to click on. Make sure that you select the city from the drop-down that links it into the database. In the details section, it is important to put in as much information as possible. You can add to or edit the details later, but you cannot change the city or the date later. Type in as much as possible here because the more information you give, the more likely it is that a journalist will choose to cover your event or release. Also, make sure the data you enter is accurate as possible. Ideally, you will want to put in a specific URL for purchasing tickets so journalists can reproduce that. The Event Notes section is for anything extra you may want to add that's not covered in the other details. For example, you could say it's an all-ages concert, or you could put who the opening band may be. There is also a spot to add additional details if something is still missing. You can save the dispatch as a draft before you're ready for journalists to see it. When you're ready for journalists to see it, you will publish your dispatch. If you save it as a draft, it will send you to a preview of how your dispatch will appear to journalists. This example profile doesn't have a bio, so we will go back and add that later, but your picture, bio, links will all appear on the dispatch. If you had a premium account with music, it would also appear on the left here. Everything related to this particular dispatch will show up at the top. The mini version with the short pitch will show up down here at the bottom. Let's go back to the dispatches now. In the dispatch dashboard, you have the option to edit, preview, or share your pitch.